All right, so continuing with her story where she's separated from her family, and all she's doing during the course of this time is waiting for help from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not waiting for help from anyone else. We don't have any report of her reaching out to anyone, because in Mecca, who is she going to reach out to, right? Minorities are already oppressed. The believers are oppressed. They're a minority. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself will not be able to do anything at this point. So she banked all her hopes on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the real source, right? So then we saw that after about a year's time, now a man comes from her family itself, notices the sad state that she is in, he feels for her, and then he makes a request on her behalf to her family, saying like, what are you getting out of this? What are you getting out of this? Just let her unite. You know, you've kept her locked up for 1 year, just let her reunite with her family, okay? Now, until this man comes, can you imagine the kind of space she was in? She doesn't know if now she's being freed, right? Possibly she's going to be freed. Someone's talking on behalf of her. So her hopes are being raised of becoming free. But does she know if her husband is alive? Does she know what has happened to her child? She has no idea. She has no clue of who is where and what they have done with them, right? So, but what we tend to forget is we take the experiences of the Sahabas and we sort of like, I don't want to say we brush them aside, but we don't try to understand them with the gravity that it should be understood with. But we think, oh, they were with the Prophet. They were in the company of the Prophet. That's a different time. Yes, they were in the company of the Prophet, but look at their trials. Look at their tribulations. In the Quran itself, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that إِذَا بَتُلِيَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ وَزُلْزِلُوا زِلْزَالَةً شَدِيدَةً. Like they were immensely shaken. When the believers were tested, they were immensely shaken. In another place in Surah Ahzab, ayah number 10, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that بَلَغَتِ الْقُلُوبَ الْحَنَاجِرَ. The hearts, they reached their throats. They reached the throats. What it meant was the fear was so much that they could feel their hearts pounding to the extent where they could hear it. And these are believers who are being talked about. So they were not immune to these pains of fear and loss. How is it that they were able to get by then? How was Salamah able to get by? Surah Baqarah, ayah number 155, which is basically every Muslim's constitution. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ. We are definitely going to test you with fear, hunger, loss of wealth, anfus, life, and samarat, investment. وَبَشِّرِ الصَّابِرِينَ. The test is going to be there. It doesn't say it's only for the disbelievers, the hardships. This is the reality of our life. And these believers, these reverts, they understood that. The ones who were not born into La ilaha illallah. The ones who willfully gave up their comfortable lifestyle so that they can seek the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bashir as-sabirin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says good news to them. And who are these sabirin? Alladhina idha asabathum musiba. When a calamity, when a difficulty comes upon them, they say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. That one simple statement, which we are saying God knows how many times during the day, it is something that they lived by. And that was their support. That is from where they did feel the fear. They did feel the pain. But they remained focused and they remained firm. Because they believed in the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's how Salamah spent her 1 year. So now she's able to get away from her paternal house, right? Immediately what she does, now she wants her child. She's not going to go without her child, right? So this person, we don't have his name in the narration. Again, it is said that he went and made a case with Abu Salamah's family also. Like, let the baby go. You've kept them separated for like 1 year. What have you achieved? Let them reunite, right? So their heart melts. Salamah's family's heart also melts. This is Allah working, by the way. And these are non-Muslims who are working. This person who helped Salamah is not a Muslim. He's a member of her family, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is basically directing his troops. The tawakkul that Salamah showed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, yes, she had to wait 1 year. Not knowing that she had to wait 1 year, there was no timeline. She was ready to wait for the rest of her life. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now directing his troops towards her. And it began with this unknown man. So now she is reunited with her baby. What does she do? She does not want to waste a single moment. She does not want to wait for someone to arrange her to travel from Mecca to Medina. What if these people change their mind? What if somebody else comes after me, right? She just gets on the camel and she heads out. Courage. A strong-willed, determined woman. That's who she is, right? So now she is on the camel. How long does it take to cross the desert? 10 days between Mecca and Medina. And just think about this, okay? We're talking about a lady by herself, day and night. She's gonna be crossing the desert. We don't have rest stops, right? What we have now, right? If anything, she could have been killed, okay? Worse things could have happened to her. Her baby could have been kidnapped again. Anything can happen to her at this point. But then the only option that was in front of her was to cross this desert so that she can be united with her family and, most importantly, live a life where she can practice her faith. In Mecca, she couldn't do that. In Mecca, she couldn't do that freely. So she had to cross that desert, right? No green, no water. Think about it. Put yourself in that space. Take yourself in that desert. The night skies of the desert. And the hot sun during the day. She is crossing by herself with an infant. Again, Allah directs his troops, right? When you, وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. When you put your trust on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He creates a way for you. Are we putting our trust on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Yes, maybe we will make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 1 day, 2 days, 3, maybe even a month. And then we'll be like, I've been making dua for so long. When is Allah's help going to come? This is how Allah's help comes. Allah's help comes in His time. Not in mine and your time. وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا. And then He gives him from places that you cannot even imagine. Right? Surah Talaq, the ayah from Surah Talaq. So here she arrives at Taneem, and then who does she find there? Uthman ibn Talha. At this time, he's still in shirk. He's a disbeliever. But he is the one who gets her across the desert. He looks at her and he asks, like, Ya bint Zad al-Rakib, like he knew whose daughter she was. Oh, daughter of Zad al-Rakib, referring to her father. Where are you going? And she told him what she was planning to do. And he's like, who's with you? She says, Wallahi illallah. Okay? Wallahi la, there's no one with me, illallah, except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wa bani hadha, and the son of mine. There's no one else with me. So he then takes it upon himself. And then he makes sure that he gets her across safely. And what an honorable man he was. This is her words. She says that I have never met someone more honorable than Uthman ibn Talha. He becomes a Muslim around the time of Hudaybiyah. So quite some time to go. Not quite some time actually. This is quite some time to go, because Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam has not even migrated. Yes, so quite some time to go still. 6-7 years still to go before he accepts Islam. He was someone who had the keys to the Kaaba. He was the caretaker, right? So he helps her get across, and the way he helps her is so beautiful. He gets her on the camel, right? He gets her on the camel. So what he does is he kneels the camel down. Okay, he kneels the camel down and he asks her to get on the camel. So, I mean, back in those days, ladies were not necessarily wearing pants or anything, right? So being respectful and keeping in mind her modesty, what he used to do is he used to turn around. And then give her time to get on the camel with the baby, right? Sit on the camel with the baby. And then when she was ready, he would turn back again and then he would walk. whenever they would come to a rest, to a place where they needed to rest, so again he would kneel the camel down, and then he would again give his back. She would get off the camel, right? She would get off the camel, she would wait, and then he would take the camel, tie it to another, lower his gaze, all the while his gaze is lowered, so that she does not feel threatened. He ties the camel, right? He ties the camel, and then lowered his gaze. So then, once he's tied the camel, then he'll ask her to come to that place, sit her down under the shade of the tree, and then he will go far away to under another tree. And then he would turn, sleep in a way where his back is to her, again giving her that sense of security. All right? This is what he continuously did for 10 days. Think about it. He continuously does this for 10 days until he arrives with her to Quba. And on the outskirts of Quba, he hints towards the village and he says, "This is where your husband is." He just makes sure that she is delivered safely, she and the baby are delivered safely, and then he heads back. Does not wait for a thank you, does not wait for an acknowledgement. I'm here to deliver, I'm here to do my job, I have delivered you safe and sound, my job is done.